Welcome to the Smorgasbord Podcast, episode 14, where we talk about a variety of different things, uncensored, unedited, and unfiltered. Today, I'm with my friend Derek. How are you?
What up? What up? Pretty good. Family friend.
Yes, yes. But you're the first adult, to be honest.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I feel like the oldest person I've ever been on here is like, it's like 16. So,
Okay.
so
Well,
you definitely a big jump.
I am honored.
Yes. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have anybody else on here because our conversations off camera are ridiculous. So,
Yes.
basically, like, I guess a question I would have is like, we always talk about a lot of things, but the biggest thing I was wondering was, what do you think? I think I know your answer, but it's a little deeper. What do you think is the biggest problem with people in general? Like, something that they're lacking?
Uh,
Before I say mine.
okay. Well, that's kind of broad, and so you say lacking.
Like, my answer is education.
That's one thing that I can agree with you saying they're lacking. But when you say it's broad, it's other things.
Like, what do you think is like the top of the list?
You know what it is? Morals. I would say most people lack understanding of morals. Even if they think they have morals, they're screwed and they're misconstrued.
How so? Like they're easily manipulated, or
No, you said easy manipulated. No, I wouldn't say they go with the flow. They most people are. It's something in social world. It's called excessive devotion to traditions. You ever heard of that?
no, but I think I know.
Your grandmama did it. Your mama did it.
So you do
So
it.
you
Yeah, I
do
understand
it.
the concept.
So even when a lot of people's morals come from something that should have been upgraded, I think that's a lack there in generational and young people, older people, people in general. I think that's a big thing. Where if you look at take politics, because their parents said you're going to be a Republican, you're going to be a Democrat, and that's just what it is. It's law.
Mm-hmm.
You just go with the flow without actually thinking about the impacts of what the person's really talking about or what their moral beliefs are is because you don't have a true core moral belief of your own. So you just go with the flow of whatever somebody else's is, even down to a politician that you never met.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
But again, I think that could go down to such detail.
It can go so left or right.
Yeah.
Same bird.
Yeah. That's the big thing I tell people at school, that they're all the ones, especially the ones that, so one of the classes I took was like we debated like about politics, about like the United Nations and all stuff, and like is it useful or not? And I'm like, no, because all you do is like honestly what we do on a day-to-day basis. You just not know we're debating popular opinion instead of fact, and we put suggestions and everything.
It's useful because the whole reason why you know what, it's not a lot of research and facts into it. From what I've seen, they take the vote and they look at the majority on a population level to see how are people thinking. To me, it's another form of census, like the 2020 census that came out this year. It's just where the people at, how are they thinking, what do they want. So if the majority votes in one way, then like let's just say Democrat. Democrat is more socialism and everything else. Then they're gonna go and promote socialist views, socialist personalities, socialist programs, and this and that, because the majority of the people is moving in the same direction. So the birds just start flying, left. But now you get a lot of millennials and younger people like yourself coming, and they was looking like, for some reason, this next generation is being more conservative, more aware, and they don't want all the programs. They don't want to welfare state. And then they start seeing the votes coming in from the adults, and then you get a censor, and then y'all are the new news with social media. To me, it's a form of census and free news.
Well, I personally don't watch any news. I get everything from.
You don't have to. Y'all give enough news.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. I took the social studies class, and they were telling us watch news.
Mm-hmm.
Ace that class did not watch a lick of any news station, and I was not updated because that's the news, and just report the summary instead of having to watch a 50-minute census when I could skip. If there was timestamps of stuff that actually mattered, the point of the context, I would be skipping to.
I consider it being one-sided anyway. The news is one-sided. It's their, whatever side they choose.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think the whole purpose of it is to be exaggerated, and that's why I just don't watch it. Because the biggest thing I told my friends that they're in that class and just in general, like, do you watch the news? You should watch the news. I was like, I don't. Like, why? Like, because whatever side they're on, they're going to exaggerate the other side. Like CNN, if Trump does anything that's like semi-suspicious, they're going to blow it up like he bombed a third world country.
Okay.
And if like you took Fox, who was like stereotypically downplays and stuff, anything he does that is like questionable-ish, they're gonna downplay it a little bit, or they're gonna take the other side, like the Democrats or whatever. They're gonna anything they say something like that's like doesn't make sense. They're gonna see them as like complete idiocy or completely just wrong. So I look at it, and it just goes with any news station. Like, there's no such thing as completely unbiased, and I feel like the first step, if you're truly you recognize your bias, that's what I believe is way more trustworthy than saying that we're unbiased, no judgment, which personally I think it's impossible. But again,
to be unbiased,
it's impossible not to judge, because without judgment we can't form our opinions.
You have to judge.
That's what I mean. There's things like you can't don't judge me, and I'm like I can't.
It goes back to it because they was taught to say not to judge, but they never even asked why not.
Yeah.
Everybody judges. Everybody judges in some form or fashion. It doesn't always mean it's bad judgment, but it's judgment nevertheless.
No, you have to, because otherwise you're just sitting here thinking like, what do you think about him? Like, I don't know what to think. Mm-hmm. That's what's gonna be your quote unquote opinion about everything. It's just like, I don't know what to think about you because I was told not to think about you.
Okay.
So that's why I always looked at it. So when they say like, am I judging you? I'm like, yes, because I have to.
You don't have to.
Well, in a way, like if I have to, like if I just met you, I'm not gonna judge you off of just in general. If I talk to you, then I'm gonna make an assessment of what you are. What do I think? Like when people say, "What do I think of you?" That's a judgment question. What do you think of this? What do you think of that person? What do you think of this? What do you think of that? That's a judgment question.
Okay.
Because you had to listen to it and think, yeah, I believe that. Yeah, he's nice. Or no, I don't believe that. No, that he's not a good person. Or whatever. Just anything, I feel like.
I can go with the assessment of a person, but you still don't go in with judge. You shouldn't go in with the judgment because you don't know the person.
Yeah.
And so you should have a clean slate of a person.
No, yeah, a clean slate. But I mean, like, to say that don't judge me is the same, do not form your own opinion about me. Or don't form what I think, I already know what's going to happen when I say
But
this.
you don't. If you never met the person, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if it's good, bad, or indifferent. So no, you shouldn't. If that's what we're talking about, you shouldn't go in with a judgment. And you can't have a judgment on something that you know nothing about, even when it comes down to a human. Yeah. Now once you interact with that person and y'all start exchanging ways and, words and things like that, then you can form some of still an opinion of what type of person you're dealing with. But you don't have to judge anyone. But do we judge? Yes. Do you have to? No, you don't have to.
When I say have to, I think it means like a human nature. That's what I mean. Not like you like forced to. Okay. That's what I mean. But it's like inbred into us to be like. Because I think in a way judgment was what kept us alive.
Self-preservation is wanting to live and not get mauled is what kept
just
us
be like,
alive.
but you never looked at a lion and be like, I think he has good character, I'm gonna go pet it. That's like, no.
Some idiots do, but
yeah, and they're dead. And they're dead.
Some survived it.
They're dead. So
okay.
What you got? Of course, the big thing with was the police brutality thing. I think George.
Do it. Go ahead.
So,
because I have a whole nother view on this, and you're not gonna like.
Well, that's what we're here for. Welcome.
She's not gonna like my take on.
Well, before, because I personally haven't. I've done semi research on it because it's been popping up, so I had to look into something. I haven't seen the video, but I know what happens, all that stuff.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the level? What are your thoughts?
And by the way, these are my thoughts.
Yes, I know. Again, these are all. This is the point. This is all opinion. None of this is like
some's gonna be some's gonna be touched on facts. But when I start coming in, I want to make it clear, just looking like these are how I feel. This is how I view things.
Yeah, and then
so whoever actually is butthurt about it, that hears this or whatever, then it might more than likely apply to you. So fix yourself before you get mad. I'm just getting mad, but I don't care. I don't care because you need to form your own way of how you feel about yourself. Because I know how I feel about me.
And this is why he's
on. So the question is,
it's just like your thoughts to the whole, like everything you've seen, because
so the last situations that recently occurred, I actually tuned out of it and I didn't even pay attention. I don't really know what happened.
Because I don't really pay attention to that because it's like, in a way, it's like desensitized as a whole other topic in itself. But like, basically what I know is that like he was getting arrested. The guy George Floyd, I think his name was, got arrested. Mm-hmm. But like, there's a video of him like he's on the ground and the cop has got his knee on his neck. Okay. And he's saying, I can't breathe. He basically suffocated under his weight. Mm-hmm. And the whole thing is that the cops just got fired. Like, they just got fired. Like, today. Yeah. And the whole outrage is that, like, how many more times is this going to happen? And all that stuff. And you have all these people upset. And then, like, Minneapolis is just rioting. Some college up there went, like, we're not going to have police, like, Minneapolis PD at the events.
So here's the thing on that. What does it solve?
It doesn't. That's why I said it looks stupid.
It's not the cops' families. One, don't mess with the cops' families because they didn't do it. That particular cop did. So it's not their fault either. That's for one. Rioting. You are doing more economic damage than you're doing health. And it's because, one, lack of morals. It goes right back to the number one problem, is that people don't even care that you're calling somebody else harm in the outcry of somebody that's been harmed. So where does that make sense? So we talk about it was a black guy, right? More than likely, I didn't see it. Was it a white cop?
Yes.
This is where the riots and stuff come from. Yeah. I am a black man that's going to ask the question, what did he do? What did that guy do to get arrested in the first place? Because personally, I've been on this planet harassed by the cops, toe-to-toe the cops. Never been on the ground. Never got arrested. Got a lot of tickets. But disrespect causes disrespect. And that goes on either end. If a cop comes and they're disrespectful, I'm going to let them know, look, you're being disrespectful. You're not gonna talk to me like that as a human being. I don't care about your uniform. I got a shirt on just like you do. It's a Latin term, who watched the watcher. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And it translates into who policed the police. So if you're the authority, who gave you that authority?
Yeah. And like, who's the boss of the boss?
Who's the boss of the boss? Like, Who's above you? Oh, my chief. Who's above him? Oh, this. Y'all all still human at the end of the day. So you need to respect each other with respect. So what I'm asking is, what did the guy do? Do I agree with the cop? And make that clear. I do not agree with the cop and how they handle it. It's from what I heard, putting a neck on anybody, cop or no cop. If you a thug on the street and you got your neck on a boy on the street, that's a problem. If you a cop and you got your neck on there, you don't have the authority to do that to any human. Period.
Yeah.
I don't care what your title is. You do not have the authority to do that to somebody. With that being said, black community need to ask, and I'm gonna say the black community because they are the ones that the biggest cries, but they also the biggest ones that just after it's over, they go back to normal.
Yeah. There's no real true outrage.
There's just a reason to actually do something
For now.
And
I feel like it's also like a human thing. Like you only care about
time.
in the moment.
To pass the time, and I know I probably sound like I can't stand my race. But I'm actually I am a person that's tired of I'm tired of them saying that we're weak, and I'm tired of, and I mean them as black people just saying like we're victims. You're only a victim if you choose to be one.
Yeah.
And especially I would say this: blacks in America have the same opportunity to do anything else that another American citizen can do. If you choose to do different, then it's your choice, flat out. So I disagree with because it just sounds like all the other the Trayvons and all the other ones and stuff like that.
That's my biggest thing about it. It's like even the whole like the Black Lives Matter. I personally,
I can't stand it.
Personally, anyway. For me, I know I saw no point because all it was again like I saw it in the same way you did. I was like, it's just a bunch of people, a group of people, and it could be any movement. I feel it can be the same way. But like a small detail difference is that all they do is like gather and they complain about being a victim, and they do the same things that they've been doing for generations and think that because the times have changed, that what caused them to change, that old style of doing it is going to change it, but they need to update their movement and what they're doing with the times. Like back then, silent protests worked because it's never been done before, but people would do it if there's a change to a McDonald's menu. It's now fat. It's no longer has no any meaning as much as it did. And violent protests, like it still carries that oomph, but again, it's going to be normalized in a way soon.
No, it has the reason why it has no meaning is because it's not. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't. How can I put this in a way to make sense to everything up right now? How do I word it is without? I try to be politically correct with it. I guess you're like, why?
Like, just at this point, say it, then go into the explanation.
I want to be mom's way to say it. She's hot. Well, I think they see them as like retarded kids in the street.
Explain.
And I'm gonna, and no offense to somebody that has a disability. When I use that term retarded or mental or something like that, I am never talking about the ones that was born and had trauma that happened to them or anything else like that. I am a true, heart all the way out to those type of people. Now, the ones that actually was wrong with everything working with them and they act like something's wrong with them, and then when they get treated like a special needs person in the street, you're going up and down the street. So here he goes, and this is a society of today of everybody gets a trophy. And I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna go to see why I'm saying this till marching up and down the street.
Yeah.
So the one that got the number one trophy, and he worked hard to get it. He trained every day, or he studied, or he excelled in everything he did. The other ones didn't try that hard. They didn't do anything to get it, but they still get recognized for being last. That is the worst. I think that is the most damaging thing you can do to anyone is give them something or nothing. And I feel it's an appeasement.
It is. It's
because they don't want them to feel bad.
Yeah.
For being less.
Yeah. So, and I think that's necessary to grow.
Little Tim, I did a good job. You did a good job. You sure did. My God, he's an F student. My God, he can't run. He can't do anything else. You did good. Just let him go because he knows not what he do. He don't know any better. Now, take that same premise, and people was looking like, wow, that sounds kind of wrong to do that to a kid. Why would you appease a kid? You know what I'm saying? You should actually call them out. And so they can be better. So, call them out was looking like, this is where you messed up. You have to run harder. You have to read more. You have to study more. You want more, you have to study more. That's what they would tell a kid, so they'll say. Now take the ones that's up and down the street marching. Black Lives Matter. I'm sitting on my porch sipping lemonade and stuff because I actually said Black Lives Matter. As a white person, I would say Black Lives Matter. But you know what I did? I wrote a letter to my government. I wrote a letter to my Congress. I submitted it in. And I went around the neighborhood and got a petition going and said, this is something that needs to change because this isn't right. I did something effective.
But some would say the whole premise would be to spread awareness that big.
And I just threw out the whole, we're going to go raw with it. Try to go raw with it. So these people marching up and down the street, but just before the incident happened, you got a stimulus check, since we're talking about around this time, and up and down the street, there's TV boxes. Mm. But now it's a cop do something to a black guy, but it was about 5 other dudes in your neighborhood that is destroying your neighborhood that you never reported.
It's like what they, I guess, like prioritize what they, and especially on this time, they're bored.
No, that's an excuse. So what about not during the pandemic when all the other incidents happened? Like I said, like I have to use the Trayvon. It seems old, but when I seen the innocent Trayvon hoodie pictures, I said, did anybody ever look at this guy's Facebook and seen that this dude was a menace? He was an absolute problem. This dude had guns in his head. And personally, anybody that's got tattoos right now, you're stupid. You're martyring your body for what? Recognition, because you're so insecure to actually have a voice. So you had to wear a sign that says, I have a voice on my shoulder. Just to call it what it is. He's guns. He's blunt in his hand, guns. But the black community is saying he's an angel, he's innocent. Do I agree with Zimmerman? Nope. Do I agree with Trayvon? Nope.
Yeah, when I saw it, I was just like,
so
I don't believe he didn't deserve. Obviously, he didn't deserve.
No one deserves to die.
Deserved, and
Let me put it like
that manner.
Let me put it like that. And some people definitely beg to differ because they was like, well, what about a pedophile? What about a rapist and this and that? Life's going to kill him on his own. It's not up to you to make that decision as another human being. You do not have the authority to actually make that decision to kill another human being. No one deserves to die. Because when you're a bad person, bad things are going to happen to you, period. Your energy's off. You know what I'm saying? You have no morals, it's going to happen to you. Life is going to kill you longer than a gun or
a beating.
A beating ever could. That's the beauty in the universe. You know what I'm saying? Your bad energy would just, nobody want to be bothered with you. You die alone. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Or you live long enough to just feel all kind of pain. During a pandemic, and you death struck in your house. But you're such a terrible person, nobody even check on you. That's kill. That's murdering. It's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's more painful.
That's more painful than a murder ever could do. So people got to think about it like that. And I'm just, I don't believe in anybody should take somebody else's life.
So I assume you don't agree with like the death.
I do not agree with the death penalty because who implemented?
Yeah, no, that was like you're, for me. It was like you're a paid murderer murdering other.
Who gave you the authority?
I'm like your boss, who's. Like,
it always comes back to that. Who gave that person the authority to make that decision for another human? Now, people would beg to differ, and they say, it has to be rules. It has to be some type of order here. But that's when it comes to a diverse council. That's when it comes with a diverse opinion. That's what they thought they was doing with government. But it became one-sided.
Yeah.
It became a dictatorship, because government today is dictated. It's just one big dictatorship. There's not somebody from this community, somebody from this side of the fence, the rich, the absolute poor, in one room, and then hashing it out, and then come out and with a
broadening time
unagreeable solution. That sounds counterintuitive, but it's just looking like, no, everybody didn't leave the room in full agreement, but they said, with all our different opinions, this is what will work.
Yeah, and you may not like it, but that's
you may not like it or you may love it, but this is what will work collectively. That doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. So it's one person saying, I know how I grew up, it worked for me, and you should do it too.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest. And then you have a lot of people who are like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I believe it. I believe it.
And I got the great one. I'm holding my cheek, but yeah. Yeah. Stress. My face don't
work. Elaborate before I do, like, if you're in a fight, what happened?
He was like, what is going on? Okay, so being a little, actually coming out here being a little too stressed and, chasing my business. I'm a business owner in the middle of a pandemic. Just trying not to lose his mind. And since I didn't lose my mind, I got stressed out internally. And I woke up with something they call Bell's palsy. It looks like a stroke, but it's not. It just shuts down half of your face. So I'm dealing with half of my face that don't work. So I have to hold it up to make sense. Is it permanent? No, but it did give me a nice smooth forehead. I'll take that. So yeah, if you take on this negative energy of this world so much, it can happen to you too.
Yeah, I put it personally as you were trying to go at a time where like everything's stopping in a way when you couldn't afford, like you said, you couldn't afford to stop. I feel like that's a lot of people.
A lot of people can't. No, really, no one can afford to stop this long.
Oh yeah, that's why some states opened up.
They had to open up because literally the heartbeat of the world. What happens when you don't see the joke anymore? Don't that look like the stock market? But when it flatline, we move the economy. People move this world. Just if the world stops, what would happen?
One side would be bright, one side would be dark, or just in general.
If the world is certainly stopped,
no, it would just
everything would die. If the sun just stopped rotating, it's a wrap. We're connected to all these things just the same. Everything stopped. Can I push a world? I tried. Welcome to it. I don't know.
But yeah, I feel like
there's some jumping.
Yeah, I feel like that whole thing with stress, like you have to find a way to just, I guess, balance that out. I guess.
I found peace with it though. It's a little humbling when it happened, and I thought I'd probably freak out more than what I'm doing, because like,
well, yeah, I can see why, because I feel like it's like, again, that's like the big stereotypical wake up call to be like, hey, if you don't stop consciously, we're gonna make you stop.
Yeah, like my body was like, dude, you're killing me here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And my mind just always goes. So, but the body needs a rest because it triggers with sleep deprivation, stress, malnourishment. I wasn't eating. I was just going and take a soda and keep it moving. And I wouldn't eat for like a week because I wasn't thinking about eating. I wasn't sleeping. I'm driving from state to state.
Yeah, I barely sleep, and it's bad for how young I am. But I in general,
it can happen to anyone at any time. It can happen at your age.
Yeah, so definitely something that I definitely need to work on in general. But like again, I don't.
Sylvester Stallone was born with it.
Yeah, I could tell again. Like until I didn't know the name, but I knew something based on how he talked. Like he just naturally just slurred.
Yeah, it's something. It's a sensory.
Because when I first looked at it, like I swear when I was younger, I was like, was he actually a boxer?
Like a punch drunk.
Like did you get actually punched?
It looked like I was in a fight.
Did you actually get punched during the movies? Like when you guys boxed?
Yeah, he actually did. By accident. he got a couple of hits. But anyway, here and there, just yeah, I know I need to look weird. So
I guess it was a show. Just take care of yourself for everybody. I guess that's a big thing.
Everyone take care of themselves and don't let anyone stress you out to a point of this. With anything, what's going on, this will pass. This is not the first pandemic. This will not be the last. This is like the first one I think of your generation.
Yeah,
I've seen 3 of these already. In my lifetime, I've seen 3 of these already. You know what happened? The world kept going. So if you go through a tunnel, it's always another end and it's always a light. It's dark through the tunnel. Focus on the light and keep moving.
Yeah, that's how I saw it. That's why I felt like, for me personally, it felt like another day. Like in a way,
because guess what it is?
It is.
It's just another day.
And people took it as like, because obviously a lot of my friends were like again, like what I always said, during this time, this is the best and worst time for mental health. Like a big hole where you stop.
Choice. It's choice.
And it's like, what do they decide to focus on? Do they decide to focus on stuff that they need to work on, or stuff that they wanted to do but they haven't? Or do they focus on the stuff that they used to have that they took for granted, or the stuff that they enjoyed and they craved is now
regrets. Regrets. Would you call it regrets?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Regrets is part of it. It's a big part of it.
Okay.
But also just like the realization of the whole normality thing is like, oh, okay, it's mainly regrets though. It's like a brand of few things, but the big part of it is regrets.
So don't live with regrets. If you know you're doing what you're supposed to do, you never will live with regret. Even if you fail at it, guess what you did?
You tried it.
You did it. And now you know that ain't me. That don't work for me. But 100% of failure is never doing it. 100% of never knowing is never doing it. So if anybody, the most depressed people right now, is said, I played too much. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. What do they say? The average American don't even have $400 for emergency fund, which is absolutely ridiculous.
I didn't even know that. That's wild.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
The average American, we talking about full-blown adults. Don't care what age
adults. Like
do not
being an
have
adult is a mindset. It's not a thing.
Do not have $400 in case of an emergency. And this particular last 2 months has proven it that 80% of the world is irresponsible. Because they couldn't actually hold out for 2 months because they're over leveraged, they're over in debt, because they actually lived off of other people's money. They did not do what they were supposed to do. They didn't educate themselves. They didn't work in the talents that they were in. They didn't work hard enough. And then some still want to go and blame you know,
Everybody else.
But
them.
But them. What do they say when you point? One finger pointing at you, three of them pointing at somebody, three of them pointing back at you.
But again, it's funny you brought up failure. That's actually one of the things I have on the list to talk about. Personally, I think, especially during, like I said, we're going to tie it back to people who are like the consolation trophies and consolation prizes.
Okay.
I believe failure is good.
Failure is great.
And we need to get rid of that whole connotation. Like, it doesn't feel good to fail. By any means, no. You always want, but neither does always succeed.
Failure is important.
But it shapes you because, and it just that goes for anything negative, and like you want to always get like the biggest thing people like this. If you were to dream basically dream a perfect world. There's always like, oh, world peace, everybody's this, everybody that, like all the positive things. No such thing as negative. And I always look at them and I'm like, that world would crumble with less than 5 seconds.
A good form of failure gains you knowledge. And after knowledge, you get wisdom. And I'll give you an example. If you are walking down the street and you trip on a crack, you're knowledgeable of it now because you did it. You've seen the crack. So next time you walk down that street, you're knowledgeable to not do it again. But it by you doing that and actually having the trip up in the first place gains you knowledge. And now you're wiser for it because now you're wise enough to know not to even step on it. Failure can be good.
But the whole concept, again, which is why I feel like you have a bunch of people who are like, again, it's part of a big part of the studying their growth. And when they actually do fail, because they've been so protected from it, or they've been so sheltered.
Fear.
Yeah, they'll be like, but not even, it's like for other people's fear, not even like, but they don't even allow them to feel fear. Like the fear of failing. You won't even allow it to get to that point of where you're not even in the hot water, but you're close to the pot. So it's like, you keep them so far away, that's the first thing they're going to do, or they're going to listen to you, and then, which is inevitable, they're going to fail, they're going to crumble, because they never faced it. It's the same thing with like an immune system when they reach a new sickness, which is this whole thing with this whole pandemic thing.
Mm-hmm.
You never trained it to deal with anything when it catches anything.
Because you're losing me. Elaborate a little bit. What you're saying.
And what do you mean?
Go ahead.
So like, you protected it. You've kept them so far from something that's necessary for them to be a healthy and functioning human.
Okay.
In something that's gonna on top of that, something that they're gonna run into, whether you like it or not, even like as a parent or whatever, like your child.
I guess I was gonna say, give me an example.
Like as a child or as a parent, you wouldn't want your kids to ever feel failure. You would always want them to succeed in everything they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not always going to be the case. If you never let them try stuff that 9 times out of 10 that they're gonna fail at,
mm-hmm.
or something that, or whenever they're gonna fail, you pick it up for them.
They'll never learn.
That's what I mean.
They'll never learn, and they will. So, I think we talked about this the other night. Kind of give a 2 different dynamic of a parent. And remember I told you about like how a mom would do it and how a dad would do it. A mom, you fall off your horse, you cry, she puts you back on. And then you get off and you just like, well, last time she put me on the horse because I cried. So I'm just going to cry again because she's going to put me back on the horse. She'd do it. Now he goes to the same part and he goes with his dad. And he tries that same method. He falls off the horse. He cries. Dad put him back on. Second time, he's like, I'm going to cry because I need him to put me back on because I don't know how to get up there. But the dad's like, no, we're not. You're going to put your foot in the pedal. You're going to kick your leg over. The kid tries it. He falls back off. Dad tells him to do it again. He put his foot on the pedal. Now kick your leg over. He hops off. He falls off. Dad said, do it again. He hopped up. He kicked on there. He said, cool. Now you know how to get up on your own. That's really what you're talking about. It's looking like you have to give me room to actually fail so I can learn where I failed at so I can win, so I can succeed in it. But if you keep doing it for me and you keep picking me up and throwing me in the air, I don't know how to fly.
Yeah. But again, they're tying that back to the whole society thing, the conservation prizes and all that stuff. Society is trying to turn into a giant nursery for all these babies, essentially.
Society has turned into one baby.
Yeah, but they're trying to. Yeah, and they're trying to do that mother thing to everybody and be like.
Well, they did it.
Well, like more. They're trying to do it more. I'll say
they did it.
They keep on increasing it every day.
Here's an example of how they did it. Most of these businesses should have failed. They were over leveraged. Average American did not have $400, but they have a Cadillac in their driveway. They should have failed. They should have lost everything because all they did was pick them up and put them on a horse. And you know what they're going to do? They don't know how to ride it. They're going to fall off it again. And you know what they're going to expect? Help. They're going to expect hands to come and put them right back on. We just went through this 10 years ago. Why is the same companies in trouble again? Because they never let them fail. Why is the same people up and down in the street? It's because they never let them fail. You're going to listen to us. We're going to do this. It's looking like, so what did you do for the last 10 years to get yourself in a better economic situation? What did you do to get your kids out of a better economic situation? What did you do to actually save some money and not buy the newest Tesla that came out? Because it's not just one community either.
It's ours, everybody.
It's everybody, and that's what I'm loving about this right now. It exposed everything.
It's great.
It's beautiful. People was like, "What?"
Yeah, when I said that to my friends too, they're just like,
"It's great."
Like, I was watching it
because one, it's going to make people say, "You know what? I think I might need to do more. I might need to do more." All the pencil pushers, they're screwed. They're screwed because you know what? Technology is coming in. There's things called industrial age. There's information age. This is a technology age. I don't want to learn a new skill. You know why? They said I never had to. I'm still on like Windows 5. I know some companies that still use like the old Windows because their owner never wanted to learn something new.
Yeah, that's wrong, and like that's what I mean.
So you can't tell me he or she does not deserve to fail.
Definitely, because again, I'm like, for example, WWE. I'm a big wrestling fan.
I used to be.
That company should be a billion. Like they should be. They're already very successful even during this time. They've adapted but they should be levels of what they should do. Their money and their fan base should be even more widespread. Why? Because
you saw that question.
Yeah, because they've had the same. The reason they don't is because they've had the same guy who started the company now. Vince McMahon. Yeah. He's been the head of that company since its inception, and his stubbornness and his old ways of how he used to run it back in 1980s, and how it versus in 2011, he had so much talent and product that could have elevated his company. But he surrounded himself with glad-hatting yes man, and he was also just in that mindset of we're going to do it this way instead of trying new stuff. He didn't fail, but he did stunt the potential of the trajectory of where it's headed.
The little I know on this particular wrestling, I'm not going to say he actually didn't try to implement new things because even you got to even think when he was smart enough. Back in the day, he picked up Rock. And the SmackDown came from Rock. He let that happen. He didn't say no. I didn't make it.
No, but
I didn't make it up.
There was
I
a
didn't
time.
do that stuff.
There was a time he let that happen when his company was in threat. He was willing to do anything, and that's when it was at its best.
I guess I don't know how it is now, but
yeah, but I mean, like now
I saw he was to me. I seen him from Hulk Hogan to
John Cena, and he just did that.
That's what I seen progress.
Yes, and that's what. But I mean, like, for example, when you think of wrestling, WWE is the first thing you think of. Back then, his company was borderline about to fail, so he was willing to do anything and everything. Yeah, and he was willing to do anything and everything to beat the competitors. And that mindset, I believe he kept that mindset to being like, we can still do that. We care about the quality.
He's old.
Not himself, but like he has people.
Right.
And from a business standpoint,
it goes about the
he got comfortable.
No, it's all about the dollar. And most of the people that run companies never actually tried was in a position to start one. Most of the people that's in power, they don't really own anything. They're all employees. So all they do is look at the balance sheet. They look at the numbers. They don't know what it takes to really do it. Like, you have a feeling behind it, and even as a young entrepreneur, you even know what that feeling is and what you're gonna have to do to get to the next level. That's probably why you're looking at it now. It's just looking like you gotta do more. You gotta adapt more. Is what you're saying. And he didn't adapt enough.
Because he's stunted to the potential. Because based on how his trajectory goes, the money he was supposed to make, how I looked at it, is like, he was right here when he should have been here. But the big difference is that he got complacent and he got comfortable because he eliminated and bought out all of the competitors. Mm-hmm. So there's no one on that level. So he doesn't necessarily anymore, besides, like, of course, he's tired and old, he doesn't have that passion to push it up to where it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And from a business standpoint, I looked at it because he had so much stuff that he had, like, he was just sitting on gold, and he just never got a chance to look at it and be like, is it worth my time? He just went ahead and said, I'm going to go with what I know it's going to work until I use it all up. And that's what he's done with this, what he did with John Cena. And now the company, finally, the company's moving on without him. But they rode him for like 20 years. And in doing that, they cut out so much other stuff that would secure them even longer. And I feel like the main things they're so focused on, like, one hits or that one person that's going to push that product.
Because it worked before.
Yes. And that whole certainty is fine. You can have that. Like, yes, push John Cena because that he pushed you for 20 years.
Again, I don't know that much about wrestling, but
as far as a company standpoint,
yeah,
he was the face of that.
Yeah,
and he made the money. Cool, keep doing that. But on top of that, push other things behind it that would
adapt to what's going on now.
Yeah, and I feel like he stopped when he got complacent and when he got comfortable.
Because UFC, I believe, was one of the biggest damagers to wrestling.
Yeah, 100%. And UFC, and even UFC, like Dana White, he's pushed it. He's literally bought out a private island and did UFC 249. That's the only main sport that's going on.
He's smart. He's a smart guy.
And obviously, whether you're into mixed martial arts and all that stuff or not, there's nothing going on. So he knew his rating was going to be higher than anything. And he's still going to keep on going. And when he adds like a really big name, like Conor McGregor, it'll sell out. And
Conor McGregor was a salesman.
Oh yeah,
he was a good fighter. He ain't the best. That's the thing.
He's not.
He's not the best, but he was a great salesman.
Yeah,
and he even knew that though.
He even said that.
He knew it.
Yeah, he said, I don't hate anybody.
No,
I just did it.
He's like, I talk smack because it sells. It sells tickets.
And yeah, and prime example, like his first, like he had one fight and he was already one of the biggest stars because he talked that much. And then what they did is that after that one fight, his debut, he went ahead and they booked a show in Ireland. And on top of him selling that, he's like one of the biggest Irish fighters in the company. So it sold out within like a very, very short amount of time. Everybody tapped in, and then on top of him being a good fighter, on top of the good salesman part, just in general, he was able to, and he carried that promotion for so long. But again, the difference between Dana White and Vince is that Dana White, the president of the UFC, is willing to keep pushing, where Vince has got at a point where he got complacent. I feel like when Dana White gets, if he ever gets to that point, or ownership ever gets to that point, where, okay, we've done enough, we're comfortable,
okay,
UFC will start to fail.
Or he'll be wise enough to actually have like a successor.
Yeah, someone behind him.
Yeah, they'll be training them. I think most people fail is because they actually keep trying to keep it for themselves, and they don't raise up the next
generation,
the next thing. I ain't gonna say the next them, but the next thing. You know, the one that's running Apple right now, he was being groomed by Steve Jobs to take it over. But Steve Jobs knew that. I'm not always going to be here. So it behooves me to actually start setting somebody up to actually at least get the same thoughts and as close as possible of what I already started, so you can take it to the next level. And the smart thing is that person should be doing the same thing right now. You know, is making somebody to keep it going. That's the only way I think you can grow. And it's just like it's just like parent to kid. We all should be better versions of our parents, and your kid should be a better version of you and whoever you mix with. That's why the excessive devotion goes all the way back to that. Doesn't work because it's a copy. It's a faded copy of a copy. Faded copy.
So it's deteriorating.
It's dwindling down instead of a rewrite. Here's the memo. Read it. Correct it. Add to it. They take the same old memo, copy it over, and now it's faded, hand it to their kids, and like, I can barely even see what the hell you're talking about because it's so old. Even the Constitution and everything else. If the so-called forefathers would be born today, they was looking like, y'all never updated this stuff? Y'all do know there was slaves standing behind me when we wrote this, right? We didn't really know everything, and y'all still going off these same terms, and y'all wondering why it's not working. All the way down to the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and everything else. All that should have been rewritten at least about 10 times by now. How in the hell until you expect it to work? But humans is, the highest point of human is still human. That's why we're in the same, dude, that's why we still use fossil fuel.
Yeah.
We know solar powers work. We know electric cars work. It's a moneymaker. So greed, I think that I said this to somebody. I said the 7 deadly sins was actually revealed during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Think of any of the 7 deadly sins, and all of them has revealed themselves during this pandemic. Greed, gluttony, jealousy, and this and that. Because the poor is jealous of the rich. People, the rich is just taking everything that they can get, so they're greedy. Overindulging. I don't know why everybody wanted to wipe their butt.
That never made sense to me.
They just ripped the tissue off the
shelves
off the
for
shelves.
what?
I was looking like they can make more tissue than you can ever buy. There's not a shortage in tissue. There's not even a shortage in anything because do coronavirus kill animals? No. Why is it empty grocery stores?
Because people are trying to buy everything for themselves more than they will actually
use
within a lifetime.
Again, it goes back to greed. It goes back to the envy of who has and who don't, the jealousy of who has and who don't. It goes to it goes back to you see why I said that's the top one.
Yeah, because it ties into everything.
It ties into everything. I could give another example. Do people kill people or do guns kill people?
People.
Did the money that's piled up in a corner cause economic hardship, or the person that scooped it all up and threw it in a corner that they didn't need caused economic hardship?
People. Yeah, because you said last night, people are the true currency.
Because people are the true currency. Put a dollar right in between both of us. Neither one of us touch it. It does nothing. You pick it up, I hand it to you. Energy given energy, the flow. It's like a dollar goes like this through the air. It's called currency because it transfers through energy. If the world ran by money, where's the money running up and down the street when everybody stopped? We should be fine. The money ain't going nowhere. It's tons of it. They printed it to hell. They didn't color so much paper out here. I think they killed a lot of trees during these last 2 months. They did. But nobody moved. Everybody's fearful. Fear is one too. So none of the people move. Why is everything crashing? But money is what goes. Money is faith. You see, and I think we talked about that before, as when I get the whole Bitcoin craze. There's not enough believers in Bitcoin for it to work. So right now, Bitcoin is fool's gold. A person buy it at 200, and they're waiting for the next fool to buy it for them at 400, and the one that bought it at 400 waiting for the next fool to buy it from them at 600. When they get all the way up to $10,000, all the people below that $10,000 are gonna sell, and they're gonna go get their little paper money. And the one sitting holding a bag of nothing is the one that bought last. So they don't believe it enough to be worth anything. The only reason why money is worth anything is because people believe it to be something. If I take a piece of paper and say it's $1 and I hand it to you, it's another Latin term. It's fiat. Fiat actually means let it be so. It's a Latin term for let it be so. So if I take a piece of paper and I wrote on it and said it's $1, you said let it be so 4 quarters. You believed it to be what it is. I believe I said it's $1. I'm going to put belief into it, and I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to have you use your belief in it too. That's all they're doing. The only reason why they're printing out so much money, because if they don't see it, they don't believe it anymore. Once the people lose the belief in the money, can you go make a car without $1 being in between it? Yes. Can somebody know how to cook? Can they cook without $1 being in between it? Can they make a sweater? Can they make can they garden? Can they build a house? Here's the biggest rouge that people do not understand. Money is nothing without people. Money is the middleman. Yeah. Money's the middleman. I hear everybody running to the hall, and I hope somebody watched this. They actually spent a whole bunch of money that went and ran and got gold. Gold is not going to be used for at least, if the world's currency is not going to go away in the next 6, 12 months, 24 months. So all these people that's going to buy gold right now, and they're going to store it because they got cash too. Just sitting there and they're hoping for the destruction of the belief system of the money. Yeah, well, I'm gonna stop you right there. Okay. Thank you so much for coming on. Cool. I appreciate it. Hopefully we can have you on again. Because I bet this will probably keep. Hopefully my face will be fixed by then. Thank you so much for everybody watching. Stay safe and